morning, StoneBridge. Good morning to everyone in the Commons. My name is Alex Hall. I'm student ministries pastor here at the church. And I'm excited to be here today, especially because I get to be a part of the I Love the 90's sermon series. I did love the 90's. I grew up in the 90's. It was great times. Football was so much more fun to watch back then. Gosh. I love that Green Day song, and man, I kind of felt like, we should have been watching like a slideshow up here during that, like some graduation slides. Maybe we could have even like ended like on a picture of like Luke, everybody knows Luke. Luke left last Sunday. That was his final Sunday here. We needed a nice like fade to black, like Luke laughing or something. But hey, we can't have everything. But Rachel, she is filling in. She's taking on extra responsibility. Yes, awesome. Yep. She's taken on an extra workload to help cover until we're able to find somebody else. She's still planning on going to Millard. We're going to find somebody else for here. But yeah, she's doing a great job. I think her arm's getting tired doing that Macarena? No, not Macarena, whatever you call it, shaker. Doing that shaker today. She's getting exhausted. But it's been a fun Sunday already. That Billy Joe Armstrong song, well, Green Day, but Billy Joe Armstrong, he wrote that song, of course, like all great love songs, after a breakup. Yeah, I know. He had this, breakup with a girl. The girl was like, hey, I'm leaving you. I'm going to Ecuador. And so he wrote it at the time as kind of like a bitter, he was angry and mad. And he just didn't understand, why is she leaving me? Why is this breakup happening? I mean, anybody that's been through a breakup, we know, right? We've been through the emotions and the anger and the, upset stuff. And you've probably listened to that song and, just like Billy Joe Armstrong, you've started to realize a long time after that, he looked back at that song and he thought, it was a good thing. I can look back at that breakup now and I can say that it was for the best. And so that's how he views that song now. At the time, he was angry, but looking back on it, he said, man, it's a good thing. And so for us today, we've all kind of been there, right? We've had those moments where we've said, man, why? God, I just don't understand. Why is this going on? And in the moment, we are angry, we're frustrated, and we don't really understand the why. Every one of us in here, we probably all asked God why a couple weeks ago when BYU hit that Hail Mary. God, the Mormon school? Come on. That's not good theology. And then, last night, Miami. Let's not even talk about it. It's frustrating. But hey, we have those moments in life, whether it's something small like a football game or whether it's something big like cancer, breakup, disease, whatever. We go through these different struggles in life. And in those moments, we just want to know, God, why? Why am I going through this? Why am I experiencing this pain? Why am I going through this struggle? We've all been there. And so today, our story, it's going to give us some answers. It's going to give us some hope. I love this story. It comes from the book of Job, about a guy named Job. And if you got your Bibles, you can open up with me to Job chapter 1 today. Verse 6, one day, the members of the heavenly court came to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser Satan came with them. Where have you come from? The Lord asked Satan. Satan answered the Lord, I have been patrolling the earth, watching everything that's going on. Then the Lord asked Satan, have you noticed my servant Job? He is the finest man in all the earth. He is blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and he stays away from evil. Satan replied to the Lord, yes, but Job has good reason to fear God. You have always put a wall of protection around him and his home and his property. You have made him prosper in everything he does. Look how rich he is. But reach out and take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. All right, you may test him, the Lord said to Satan. Do whatever you want with everything he possesses, but don't harm him physically. So Satan left the Lord's presence. I love this story because it gives us an inside look at the spiritual world. It's really easy for us to comprehend and understand the physical, what we can see, feel, and touch, but it's hard for us to wrap our minds around the spiritual world that's going on around us. Job gives us an inside look at that world. I mean, just imagine with me for a second the throne room of God and all the heavenly host gathering, and all of a sudden Satan walks into the room. It's a pretty crazy picture, straight out of a movie. And he says, Job, are you serious? You've protected him. You've given him all these great things. Let me come after him. Let me attack him, and we'll see if he still believes after that, because I guarantee you he will curse you. He will turn away. And so the first thing we can pull from the book of Job is that God is not up there using us for target practice. God is not in his throne room saying, I want to torture you today. I want to throw arrows at you. I want to make your life hard. No, Satan is the one that comes. And now understand, he does have to have permission from God. He does. God says, okay, you can do this. But he is the attacker. He is the accuser. That is one of the greatest struggles. We will always struggle with our faith until we understand God is not up there using us for target practice. Satan is the one that wants to attack us. He wants to break us down. Now, let's go on here. Verse 13. One day, when Job's sons and daughters were feasting at the oldest brother's house, a messenger arrived at Job's home with this news: your oxen were plowing with the donkeys feeding beside them when the Sabaeans raided us. They stole all the animals and they killed all the farm hands. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with this news: the fire of God has fallen from heaven and burned up your sheep and all the shepherds. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, a third messenger arrived with this news: 3 bands of Chaldean raiders have stolen your camels and killed your servants. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, this is exhausting, isn't it? This is just like one after another. Here they come. It is just terrible. While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with this news: your sons and daughters were feasting in their oldest brother's home. Suddenly, a powerful wind swept in from the wilderness and hit the house on all sides. The house collapsed, and all your children are dead. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. Job just gets hit from all sides right there. He gets hit financially. He gets hit relationally. Now, at this point in the story, he hasn't been hit physically, but if you keep reading in the next chapter, God does allow him to physically hit him. And Job is afflicted with sores and boils all over his body, and they're so painful. Job takes a piece of broken pottery, and he has to sit there all day just scraping at them for any kind of relief from the pain. And his own wife comes to him and says, just curse God and die. Just curse him and die. This is pointless. Now, one of the things we see there, we can see the way Satan attacks. Satan uses people. He uses those tribes, those bands of people to go and raid Job's territory. And he also uses natural disaster. The fire from heaven, I'm guessing that was like lightning coming down and just toasting everything. Just recently in our country, we remembered 9/11, a terrible tragedy that happened at the hands of men. And not too long before that, we remembered Katrina, a terrible tragedy that was a natural disaster. In both those moments in our country's history, we looked and many people said, I'm done with God. I'm done with him. I can't believe in this kind of God. I can't believe he is a God of love. And in those moments, that is exactly what the accuser wanted. That is exactly what Satan wanted. He wanted people to look at those moments and blame God. But we get the inside look right here. Satan, under God's supervision, I know it sounds weird, it's complicated, but man, Satan, that is exactly, he gets to do these evil things in this world. And he loves it when we turn away and we say, God, I'm done with you. I can't believe in a God that would make this happen. I can't believe in that God, kind of God. He loves it when we look at God as just this mean big kid using us for target practice. That's exactly what he wants. Now, Job, he's had terrible tragedy hit him. Let's look what his response is. Verse 20. Job stood up and tore his robe in grief. Then he shaved his head and he fell to the ground to worship. In the midst of tragedy, he chooses to worship. He said, I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord. In all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God. I want to read to you a different version, the ESV version of that passage. Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. You might recognize that last line, blessed be the name of the Lord. It comes from a Matt Redman song. He wrote it after the 9/11 tragedies, actually, and it was the song that became the song of Stephen Curtis Chapman's Heart not too long ago. In around 2008, Stephen Curtis Chapman and his wife, they had a large family. They had adopted 3 little girls, and one of the girls, they were all playing out on the playground. And one of the girls saw her older brother getting ready to back out of their driveway to leave, but she wanted him to come push her on the swings. And so she came running up while he was backing out of the driveway, and he didn't see her in time, and he ended up running over his little sister. And they life-flighted her to the hospital. The whole family rushed over there, and it was too late. They lost her. And Stephen Curtis Chapman said for months after that, he couldn't sing his worship songs. He took a break from the tour he was on. He took a break from singing and writing. It was too hard for him. He said he couldn't sing the words unless he could really believe them again. And the first time he finally decided he could start singing music again, he came back for his first concert back after this tragedy. And the first song he decided to sing wasn't one of his own. It was one written by his friend Matt Redman. It was Blessed Be Your Name. I want to read a few of the lyrics from it. Oh, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. That became the cry of his heart in that moment when he lost his daughter. It was the cry of Job's heart, the cry of his worship when he had lost everything. How can you worship after something like that? How can you praise God? How can you say, blessed be your name in that moment of darkness? For Job, it was because he understood this truth. Psalm 24:1, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all its people belong to him. Everything we have in this world, it's not ours. The clothes, the money, the relationships, the friends, the family, it's all a gift from God. It is. We don't own any of this. We might think we do, but we don't. That's the reason Job could worship in the darkness. That's the reason he could cry out, all he wanted to God, why, and that's okay. It's great to struggle and wrestle with your faith in the darkness, but in the end, he still said, blessed be the name of the Lord. He gives and takes away. He understood the reason we worship God isn't because of what he gives us. It's because of who he is. I have a little daughter. She's 2 years old. She's really funny. She's cute. Her name's Harper Hazley Hall, and she just had a birthday on September 7th, and we celebrated. We got her gifts. We did what most families do. We get our daughter gifts, and it's because we love her. We want to give her good things. But the one thing we don't want to do is we don't want her to love us only because of the good things we give her. Because then when we have to take those things away, when she is being wild and crazy and tackling our dog and punching, doing stuff she shouldn't do. She does crazy stuff sometimes. She punched our dog in the face the other day. It's like, just calm down, girl. It's okay. She's just a puppy. But, she's doing all this crazy stuff, and we have to, put her on timeout and, take away her toys. And it's not because we hate her. It's not because we don't like her. It's because we love her. And we don't want our love and her love for us to be based on things, to be based on what we have or what we don't have, because that is not love. And that's exactly what God the Father wants from us. He wants real love. He doesn't want our love for him to be based on, well, God gave me a Mercedes, so I like him. He's great, because bad things happen in life. Struggles are going to come, and if we don't realize that, man, it's going to be a hard life. Our love for God shouldn't be based on what we have or don't have. It should be based on who he is. He is a good God. He wants to do something greater in us than just give us nice things and help us to enjoy this world. He's got bigger plans for us, each and every one of us. Look with me, James 1:2-4 here. Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy, for you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. That's what God wants for us. It's just, some of you guys, a lot of you, you're parents. You want the same thing I want for my kid. I want her to grow up, and I want her to I want her to be perfect and complete. I want her to care about important things in this world. I want her to care more about kingdom work than the material things in this world. I want her to care about pushing God's kingdom forward, making his name known, more than I want her to care about having a lot of money, having a lot of nice things. We want our kids to grow up perfect and complete. And so sometimes that means discipline. Sometimes that means, we got to take something away. We got to teach them what it means to really care about the right things. And so sometimes that's where some of our pain and some of our struggles come in life. It comes because of discipline. Other times, it's not going to be discipline. Other times, it's going to be because we are humans and we do dumb things. I'll go back to my daughter. She is hitting our dog, and our dog, she kind of, bit her on the hand. And it's like, okay, that was because you were doing something bad. Don't hit the dog. But with us, it's bigger things. We get a DUI. We're driving, we get pulled over, and in that moment, we are, the cop is back there writing up the ticket, and he's just, you're just sitting in your car, steaming, angry, sad. You're feeling all these emotions, and you're saying, why, God? Why is this happening? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you picking on me? And God's saying, you're the one that drank and drive. Don't do that. Just don't. So sometimes it's discipline. Sometimes it is because we do dumb things. And sometimes it's something that we can't even understand, that we don't necessarily understand the why in the moment. It's hard to understand the tragedy and the hard things in the moment. For Stephen Curtis Chapman, I can't imagine he really had any good answers in the moment for why he lost his daughter. But I think one of the verses that probably gives him comfort is Romans 8:28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. God can take the tragedy, he can take the dark moments in our life, and he can work them together for good. It's hard. Now, I know that's not a great answer if you're going through a hard time right now. You might think, well, I don't see how he's working it together for good. I guarantee you, Stephen Curtis Chapman did not see it in that moment either. But I think maybe if you asked him now, 8-9 years removed from that incident, has there been any good that's come from that? I think he would tell you, yes, I've seen some things. I've seen our family grow closer together. I've seen some things happen that I don't think would have happened otherwise. God has still taken that tragedy and he has worked it for good. What Satan intended to harm us, God can take and use it for good. He loves to take the dark moments that Satan intends for evil, and he loves to work in us. He loves, just like in that passage in James, he loves to build up our endurance to help us become more perfect and complete. Our God is a good God. He is. For me, I had kind of a small thing in my life that I wanted to share about tonight because there's different levels. We all go through these different levels. Some are huge, some are small. That's okay. God can work in all of them. But for me, I played college basketball at my school. And I know some of you guys right now are thinking, oh, that's kind of cool. Our youth pastor's a college basketball player. I went to a school of 150 kids, and we didn't cut anyone, all right? Don't go bragging to your friends, oh, we got a college basketball player that works at our church. It's not that cool. But I played college basketball. We were not very good. We won, I believe in my 4 years there, I can count on both hands, 7 games. So that was pretty fun, yeah. That's 7 games. Those were memorable. But in that time, there was finally an opportunity where we thought, this is our chance. God is going to reward us. God is going to bless us. You know, it was my senior year. We had a great team. And I was thinking, all right, God, you know, this is it. My last run. I'm going to graduate after this. I just want to win conference, God. Come on, please let me win conference. And so we get to conference play. We're starting to play pretty good. We probably, had won like 3 or 4 games first semester. Really impressive. Not really. But, we get there to conference play, and the very first night, our starting center gets injured. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we can overcome this. We can endure. We can persevere. The very next game, we lost another starter. It's like, all right, we're fine. We got 3 starters left and a couple bench players. We can still win conference. The very next game after that, we lose another starter. And it was just, from there on out, we ended up losing out the rest of the season. And it was just a small moment, but it was one of those moments where you're just thinking, God, that's not fair. Why? Why is this happening right now? Why am I going through this? And we don't get it in the moment. Everyone in here knows, if you're going through a hard time, whether it's big or whether it's small, in the moment, you're just frustrated. And you just want to know, God, why? And it's okay to ask him why. It's okay to talk to him through the moments of struggle. But we're not always going to see the big picture. For me, the big picture became a lot more clear when I really started getting into youth ministry here at StoneBridge. I've been here for 9 years doing student ministry. And I can look back at some of my trials, trials. I use that word lightly because really in comparison to Job, they were small trials. But I look back at some of those things that I struggled with and the things that were tough for me at that time and where I wanted to quit and I wanted to give up, but something in me drove me to say, no, don't give up. Keep fighting through this. I'm preparing you for something harder. Being in student ministry for 9 years has been harder. I don't know if you know this, but the national average for youth pastors across the country is 1.5 years at one church before they either quit or before they go to another church and try it somewhere else. I've survived in a hard ministry for 9 years, and it's because God has taken different things in my life, different moments, different struggles, and I can look back and say, he was teaching me to persevere. He was teaching me to endure. I can look back and I can see Romans 8:28 in those tough times because those little struggles, they look like nothing compared to what I have seen in student ministry over the past 9 years. One of the hardest moments came just 2 years ago. It was around February 2013 when I got a call from one of the kids in our youth group. And his name is Cameron, and he said it was fine that I shared this story today. And he called to let me know his mom had been struggling with a lot of health concerns. And she had finally passed away the night before. And he was just, he was broken, he was hurt. He was in one of those moments where it's just like, why, God? She was young. She left behind Cameron, his brother and sister, and their dad. And in the moment, it was hard. They didn't understand the why. And the family asked me to do that funeral, and it was the first time I really had to do the funeral of somebody that was close to somebody in our youth group. And it was hard. It was emotional. And I told Cameron, I don't know why, man. I don't know why this happened, but keep fighting. A month later, my wife shakes me awake at 6 on a Monday morning, and she says, hey, your phone is ringing. It's Cameron. You need to answer it. So I pick up the phone, and I say, hey, man, what's going on? And he says, we woke up to get ready for school, and we found my little brother in his room, cold, unresponsive, and not breathing. And he just said, would you just pray for me? I said, yeah, of course. And the ambulance, they had taken him to the hospital, and I got a call a little bit, not too long after that said Ty had passed away. We ended up finding out he couldn't deal with the loss of his mom. It was too hard on him. He couldn't cope with it. He felt hopeless. He couldn't deal with it. And so he had taken his own life. And so in the span of a month, Cameron, his sister, and his dad, they had lost their mom, and then they lost their little brother, a really sweet 12-year-old kid who was just a great kid, great part of this youth group. And they asked me to do that funeral again, and it's one of the hardest moments for me in ministry because I don't have great answers for them. They want to know why, and sometimes we don't know why. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. The circumstances we go through in this life, they're not always going to make sense in the moment. They're tough. We can't control our circumstances, though, but we can control our choices. And that is the one thing I told Cameron. I said, it's going to be really hard for you to keep worshiping God. It's going to be really hard for you to keep loving him and thinking of him as a good God, but he is. He loves you, and he showed you he loves you when he put his son on the cross for you. We got a God that loves us. We do. In the dark moments and in the good moments, he gives and he takes away. It doesn't matter. We have a God that loves us. He is still a good father in the dark moments and in the good moments. We can't control our circumstances, but we can control our choices. And I told Cameron, keep fighting. Keep struggling. Keep wrestling with your faith. Don't give up on it. Because he is still good, and it's still going to be worth it in the end. Because whether your life is good here on this earth or whether it is bad, you can have hope and know there is a future. God's promised it to us. I want to read you one last quote from a guy named John Gordon, an author I really like. He says this, the measure of our success will not be determined by how we act during the great times in our life, but rather how we think and respond to the challenges of our most difficult moments. The difficult moments are coming. They're going to hit each and every one of us. And in those moments, we can choose to curse God and say, I'm done with you, or we can choose hope. We can choose faith. I hope together as a church, we choose faith. I know in a room this big with this many people, there's a lot of struggles and there's a lot of fights going on and a lot of things where you're asking God, why is this happening? Take faith and know that it might not make sense right now, but someday, somewhere down the road, you might be able to look back on that moment. You might be able to see Romans 8:28 lived out in that moment. That God was using that he was making us perfect and complete through those times. Choose faith. Let's pray. God, thank you for being a great God and a great Father. In the dark moments and in the great moments, God, help us to praise you and say, blessed be your name. We know this world is hard. There's struggles. There are tough moments. God, I pray that in the darkness for whoever is fighting that battle right now, I pray that you would be with them and that they would remember that you are a good God, that you do care, and that it might not make sense, but they can take hope and courage that you're a Father that loves them, and you showed us you love us when you gave us your Son. Thanks for being a great Father. Thanks for giving us this chance to come and worship today and remember we have a choice. We can choose faith. Amen.